closer to you. It'll be able to hear out there. And for those of you who still have your cell phones on, if we have it, you get to contribute $5 to each campaign fund. So please turn them off. Keep them on, keep them on. In your opinion, what is the role of government? Yolanda.
Great question, and obviously, this is a commitment I'm making. I have a funny analogy, which, hopefully a lot of people understand as far as, we can have our bread, but we can have our cake and ice cream and eat it too. Our bread is composed of what makes us function. We have our sewer systems, our water systems, we have our utilities, we have our parks, we have our police, we have our streets and maintenance department, collection and so forth, trash collection and so forth, and maintaining our water systems. That costs a lot of money. All that working together makes this community what it is today. We have a city manager and city council members who every year work for months looking at what are the revenues that are going to come in and the expenditures that make us operate. And that's part of that bread concept, putting a lot of things together to make us functional and make us inviting and make us a viable city. And as we all know, we're an all services community. And part of that decision making is once we get all the necessities and essentials appropriated and functional, we like our amenities, we like our parks, we like our beaches, we like our senior center. We like the things that make us inviting to outsiders, such as our community events, our casino, our marina. So when you look at government, we need to look at everything in total. It's just not the appropriations for expenditures. It's what makes a community, click. What makes us inviting. What makes us want to be proud of our homes and really take care of our homes. The environment is critical. We're a coastal community. We have water systems that may or may not be potentially impacted by pollution or by storms that come about. We got to be ready for that as well. So I look at this as all inclusive. City government is many parts, has many parts. The operational obligations, but also the amenities and the things that make us a fun community, an inviting community, and a really functional community.
Thank you. Paul?
I've always believed that the role of city government is pretty much what our founding fathers said: the least amount of government is the best amount of government. However, we have support services such as emergency services, the police, and so on and so forth that we do need to maintain. The goal of the council is really to set policy, to set direction for the city, to increase businesses, increase safety, protection for the citizens. I think that we are a full service community, so therefore we have police services, emergency services, and sewer and trash collections and everything else. So the role of government is to keep the city functioning on the infrastructure level and not so much on the personal level.
Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, Paul, you both work. As a council member, how would you deal with resident business issues?
I think a lot of those would come on case-by-case basis. One of the things that's very critical to the city is our businesses. And dealing with businesses, there are a lot of issues. We have a business that's closing because of zoning laws, and they can't afford to rebuild because of the storm. I think that each business has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. We need to work with them so that if we have to relax the zoning laws in order to keep these people in town, then that maybe that's something we have to do. I don't believe that the governance is not effective when we're actually suppressing business in our city. So working with all of our businesses and making sure that their pathway to success is open.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. You both work. As a council member, how will you deal with resident/business issues?
Thank you. And that question has come up a lot. I think everyone understands that as candidates, our responsibility and our function has been to reach out to the community, not only meet the candidate type things, but I've been out there knocking on doors, and I've heard a lot of things that are shaped my decision-making, but also that question has come up as far as, what do you do? Are you a full-time employee? How are you going to be able to balance these responsibilities? One thing that I really want people to take away from my response is I'm here to get the work done, to get the job done. I do work full-time, so I have an employer that I will always and continue to be responsible to because that's a commitment that I've made as an employee. Upon getting onto the city council, I will be 100% as well dedicated to the function of a city council member, meeting the demands that are put before me on an everyday basis. My office is at home, and so I want to make sure that people understand my accessibility, whatever that accessibility will be. I will be dividing my time, making sure that the city and the residents understand where they can get a hold of me, how they can get a hold of me. I need to reach out to individuals as well. There's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of forums, there's a lot of events that people are taking part of, and I want to be there. A lot of organizations have monthly meetings, quarterly meetings. I think it's a responsibility of a council member, if you're going to really represent the entire city as a whole, to make yourself available to those groups. What's ticking, what's not ticking. They need to see me. They need to know that I'm here to get the job done, however long it takes to get done. We were asked a question recently, how much time do you think you have to expend to city council? My response is, as long as it takes to get the job done. As an anecdotal, I've worked for 34 years. I raised 3 kids as a single mom. And that was a job in itself. How do you balance 3 kids and how do you make them functional and fully, available for society at large, but work hard at my career as well. I did that. I'm up for the challenge. I know how to balance my time, use my time effectively, and really understand that if I'm going to make this commitment and take an oath as city council member, I am up to the job, and I can commit that to the community.
Thank you very much. Yolanda, infrastructure. Our city streets need fixing. Would you borrow money to fix them? Also, do you favor the proposed fix to the city sewers?
Thank you very much. I mentioned earlier, and I'll close later, and you'll see me say this repeatedly, 3 priority items for me. I mentioned senior services and programs. I also mentioned downtown parking, but I also mentioned alleyways and city streets. Just like our sewer system, it takes time for things to go over the lifespan. That's going to be the same situation, and it is the same situation in many respects with our city streets. We have allocations, appropriations that are allotted every year to maintain our streets, repair our streets, and really prioritize whether work needs to get done. One thing that I know for sure, and again, the value of meeting constituents or residents every day, there's a huge problem with our streets. There's many areas that are in need of repair. There's potholes, there's work that hasn't been done in some streets for a variety of reasons. I want to make that a priority of mine. I'm going to have to learn from the city, from the departments who are working on our city streets. Is our budget, allocated to the extent that we can get the job done? And if not, just like we're doing with our sewer systems at this point, will it take sometime in the future for us to consider loans or grants or other modes of bringing appropriations to get the job done? That's a priority of mine. I want it to be a priority of mine, and that includes the alleyways as well. So I'm not advocating for us to go and get long-term loans at this point, because it's not something we want to do as a city. We don't want to incur debt. But let me do my homework. Let me meet with city staff. Let me understand what we're doing, because if we need to do more, then we need to decide what is that more and how we're going to pay for that. And your second part of your question?
Well, it's also, do you favor the proposed fix to the city sewers?
Thank you. Yes, and yes. We have a 50-year-old system. Our sewer systems have been operating. Some have patchwork, some have been repaired, some have retrofits or whatever it may be, but we have a lot of repairs that are in need. We are expending a lot of money, paying St. Pete for disposal, of our water systems. When we have major storms, we know that our sewer systems are already compromised with high water levels. What does that do? It causes floods. We all know what happens downtown Gulfport at this time. I know what happens on my street. You all probably have had challenges navigating city streets after major storms. The work needs to get done. City Council has been very thoughtful to work with engineers, work with individuals who know what needs to get done, Right now, the first phase that City Council is considering and really has approved is working with individuals who will help us craft what kind of loans are going to be necessary for us to move forward. If you don't know, there's a nice set of plans that have been designed to get the work started in 2015, and it may take us a few years to get that done. As a City Council member, what's going to be my challenge and the challenge of the team members in City Council is how we're going to get that job done, where we're going to prioritize, who gets, the work done first, what needs to be redone that we've done in the past. But sooner or later, 2017 and beyond, we're going to have a state-of-the-art sewer system. I am so in favor of it because we deserve to have the assurance that with storm systems and, other things that may impact our city, that we're not going to be negatively impacted moving forward.
Thank you, Yolanda. What, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay.
As far as borrowing money, I think it's a bad idea. We've always been a debt-free city as part of our charter. Also, that there is a general fund, there is a fund that we can actually borrow money from ourselves and pay it back. So I'm not in favor of borrowing money. We are, however, looking at the state's revolving fund, which is what I'm going to segue into the sewers. We are looking at and applying actually already to the state revolving fund to have money at a very low interest rate. And then we'll be working with Con Edison on fixing the sewer systems. What they're going to do is basically fix the systems that actually, the areas that actually are physically needed. So they're going to use a smoke test almost that allows it to come to the surface so we can see where it's actually leaking. Because what I don't think most people realize is that we pay a lot of extra money in our water and our sewer bills because whenever we have a storm, all that water pours right back into our sewer systems, and then we have to pump it up to St. Pete, and we pay literally by the thousands or millions of gallons. And it's hefty. If you look at the prices of what we're paying when it's in dry season and then what we're paying when it's a wet season, it's stunning how much money we're paying. Because during the wet seasons, we have less residents in Gulfport because of the part-time residents that come down during the winter. So one of the things that we have to do is fix it. And the storm drain system is almost a separate issue where we have no ability for the water not to flush back in. I mean, I was reading the Gabber and I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Downtown's flooded, we have fish swimming down on the main street, along with people kayaking. But I was saying, well, how can that be? That's because there's no barrier for flow back at all. It's just pumping right back up on our streets. So I mean, those are two separate issues, but I think that the revolving fund is a great idea. Like I said, they've already applied for already putting the application forward, and then working with Con Edison, who are the people that will actually, I believe, are going to be the people who are going to be implementing the changes. Putting sleeves in where we can, hopefully not having to dig up too much of it, because that would be an inconvenience and a big expense. Because it's basically $100 a foot. We have 48 miles worth of these pipes.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Paul, what can be done to fix the bocce courts at Gulfport Beach?
That's a good one, since I've never played bocce ball and I've never been to bocce ball courts. Actually, I've seen them, but...
It's a big-time sport here.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I would have to pass on that because I simply wouldn't know. I would have to go and look at the courts and find out what it would cost to fix them if there are repairs needed. So I honestly wouldn't be able to address that.
Okay, thank you. Yolanda?
Thank you. One of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, the more you talk to people, the more you understand what's important in our lives and what is significant, be it the bread or the cake and ice cream. I have had a chance to see the bocce courts. I've actually, was there probably 30, 45 minutes. Took plenty of pictures as well. I think many people in this room may know, and Paul, you may want to take a good look. It's by the children's playground at the rec center. Okay. So one of the things that you may want to know is that a couple of years ago, in accommodating changes in the beach area, there was a decision to move the playground to a certain location, which really impact the old bocce courts that were in existence. And there's a rhyme and reason to bocce. And I've learned a lot of this by talking to the residents because, like you, Paul, I don't play bocce ball court, but guess what? I learned how significant it is and what's the purpose and what the functioning is. It was moved, and when it was moved, there was probably not a lot of knowledge known of what are some of the necessities of a bocce ball court. I learned that location is important. I learned that having access to water systems to clean it is important. I also learned that accessibility on brushing the bocce ball court is important. And I also learned that safekeeping of the materials to keep it operational is important. At the city, the due diligence to try to move what was existing or build a new one, but it has some issues that ended up with deterioration, and it's really become non-functional. As I understand, many of our residents in the city, be it Town Shore residents, be it people in the greater community, or even visitors who come to Gulfport and are interested in playing the bocce ball sport, really cannot. You know, if you're in the community in Town Shores, you probably have access to the ones here. But I saw the ones on the beach area. I've taken pictures, and it's something that needs attention. And it's something that I know even today, as a non-city council member, can and should bring to the attention of our city officials. They probably don't know what has happened. They probably don't know that now, you know, we've really taken something away from a community that felt that it was really important. I'm very interested in seeing it, you know, come back to full fruition. I told you all that one of my 3 initiatives are senior services and programs, and this clearly falls within that realm. So, great question, and I think it's something that as a city council member, you know, I can commit to pursuing on behalf of our